Now, what you're seeing behind you over there is a little shot from back in the day in 1989. We all know that something bad happened in China.
You don't have to beat around the bush.
No, but for those of you who are not in the know, there was a pro-democracy movement and students, so young kids in their sort of early 20s.
And their teachers.
Yeah, they all went to Tiananmen Square. The reason they went to Tiananmen Square is that is the place where you take your grievances to the government. You've got the whole of the people there. That is where Mao Zedong made his big speech. And that is where, in China, it symbolizes a point of power. That's where you go and you're supposed to be able to have an open dialogue. And they were there for a long time and they were negotiating with the government. There was a lot of talks back and forth, and they built a statue of freedom, goddess of freedom statue, and they were camping out there and they were chanting and singing and doing the usual kind of thing. And the powers that be at the time, which, by the way, a lot of the people that were there are still in the CCP, still in the government, right? They decided, screw this idea. Fuck these students, we're going to kill them.
Yep.
Because we got to shut them up. If they're not going to move, we're just going to send in the army. And they bust in the PLA from around the country because apparently the local Beijing PLA did not want to do it. So they got the guys from further flung areas to come in.
It didn't properly educate them about what was going on.
Nope. They basically rolled in with tanks and killed an unknown number. Hundreds, thousands, we don't know because it's been so well covered up and censored.
It's definitely, it's in the thousands.
Yeah, but we have tons of footage showing, the dead bodies of students and the people in the hospitals and stuff. And we've got verbal accounts of what was there and people who survived it and stuff.
The government murdered its own innocent citizens. Yeah. The end.
The same government that's still in power. And the thing is, they've never been held accountable for it. And they've never apologized for it. Yeah, they do. They justify it. And in fact,
used to be where they wiped history. Yeah. Not in the textbooks. You can't talk about it. It's not on the internet. Now it's justified.
Well, here's the thing that I noticed, okay? First of all, the average Chinese person is either slightly aware of this, that it happened, or just very ignorant of it, and it's not ever anything they think about. Because you cannot search it on the internet. You cannot search Tiananmen Square. 1989 massacre. You cannot see pictures of what happened there. You cannot read news articles about it. It's not on TV. It's not on the radio. It's been completely wiped. And that's why whenever there's a website or a foreign company that mentions Tiananmen Square, it immediately gets banned in China, it gets blocked, and that's going to lead up to what we're talking about here today. But I found that people that are in government jobs and who know about this and have knowledge about this have a narrative that's fed to them, and it's been told to me by these people in government that it was the rioters or student protesters' fault, that they were getting out of hand, that they were burning down things, they were doing bad things, and so it was necessary to stop them and in order to maintain social harmony. So the people that do admit that it was a thing, the narrative is, for the majority of them, is that it was the students' fault. They got out of hand, and then they start to throw blame at the student organizers that, they were just living in the lap of luxury and while all the protesters were starving. And, they've got all these stupid things that they talk about, which I've been told by people in the government. It's actually quite infuriating. But at the end of the day, the government was responsible for a whole bunch of deaths. So this brings us to this image. This 1 second image that was put into the advert for the upcoming Call of Duty Cold War game got the whole thing banned. So maybe you can explain how that all went down.
Well, why don't you play... I have the ad there. It doesn't have audio, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Play that in the background. So the whole theme of this new Call of... If you don't play video games or whatever, the whole theme of this is it goes back to the Cold War era. So this is focusing a lot on the Soviet Union, but it's also focusing on the things that led up to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So you're looking at early 90s when all the republics splintered off, right?
Sure.
In 1989 when this happened, that was also in the same time period where there was a lot of turmoil within the Soviet Union. So 89 in China was its turning point for democracy as well.
Yeah.
So this game focuses on this, and their whole thing is about how we can't forget history. Their tagline was, "We must not forget history," and then it says, "History is doomed to repeat itself if we do."
Yeah, if we forget about history.
So they show all of this. They show these wartime scenarios. They show the Soviet Union. They show protests against communism. They show all this kind of stuff. Cold War era stuff, right? Know your history or be doomed to repeat it. But they removed the 1 second clip of the Tiananmen Square massacre. How evil and ironic, and it really pisses me off.
Yeah.
When you actually just sit there and let it stew in your brain. thousands of innocent students got run over by tanks and murdered by their own government because they wanted freedom and democracy. This game goes out to be like, okay, we're going to cover this time period.
Yes.
And then removes that. And then brags to the world and says, guess what? We're so cool. Like, we're talking about history and we're never going to repeat it because we're going to shed a light on it. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. So what happened is the advert for the game immediately got banned in China because it had that 1 second clip of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Because they're talking about communism. They're talking about, all the things that were happening during the Cold War. So that gets banned. And then kind of discreetly, they thought it's discreet, but it got picked up very quickly. Activision removed that 1 second of Tiananmen Square footage out of their trailer and re-released it worldwide. And obviously the reason is, number one, they don't want the game to be banned in China because then they lose that market, which of course is the biggest market at the moment. And they want the money of the Chinese market. So they realize, oh no, we screwed up. If China banned the advert, they're going to ban the game unless we... I'm even guessing that if they had any kind of China content in the game, it would now be removed before release anyway.
For sure. Oh, yeah.
So they went ahead and did that, which is incredibly immoral. And it shows you that we, at present, the whole world is, well, I say we, but it's not us. Obviously, the corporations around the world are allowing China to force their censorship and propaganda onto the entire world.
Not Russia.
No.
Not these other countries. Not North Korea.
No. China.
China.
So now, in our own media, around the world, movies, Hollywood movies, games, things like that, we have to toe the Chinese Communist Party line. And if we don't, then we don't get access to their market. Does that
message. Not make you feel like a prisoner in your own country?
So now we have to pretend as if certain parts of history did not happen. So the Tiananmen Square massacre, which is a real thing. We've been to the memorial out here in California. It's something that was a traumatic event which affected many people.
It's a turning point.
It's something that is absolutely unacceptable. It's a stain on the Communist Party's history, the Communist Party of China's history. It is a stain which they have to own up to.
Oh, the fact that they did that is the reason they're in power today. Yeah. They had a choice that day.
Yeah. Exactly, but it's a massive stain. They killed their own citizens and young, promising students and freedom-loving young students were literally killed. And it's a disgusting thing that happened. And the only way to move past something like that, like the Holocaust or like any other disgusting thing in history, slavery, you name it, you first have to admit that it actually happened and then move from there. So you're like, yes, it happened. It was a terrible thing. Bad judgments were made. It was disgusting. And then you have to try to atone for it in some way. As we see the way Germany atones for the Holocaust. It has become illegal to, deny the Holocaust. It's a thing where it's such an important part of history. But imagine if Germany had just kind of carried on and wasn't actually overthrown. They just backed off and closed down and everyone's like, okay, we're not going to fight anymore. And they carried on pretending like the Holocaust didn't happen. And every time anywhere around the world, someone was like, oh, guess what? There was a Holocaust in Germany. They're like, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to buy our BMWs anymore. If you mention that in your newspaper, we're going to cut you off. You're not going to have access to our whatever, ABC. And that's what's happening at the moment.
Show me a textbook in the US or in Germany that says the Holocaust didn't happen or just omits it. Now, go to Australia in Victoria and open up a textbook, and now you will see pieces of Chinese history not only deleted, but maps drawing in Taiwan and all of the 9-dash line in Australian curriculum.
Yes.
So if that's not scary enough, I don't know what is. It's literal bullshit that we have to consume media that has to pass through a filter before it goes to China. What's the difference from us being in China or here now?
Yeah, exactly. Why do we have to put up with their censorship on our own shores? It's going to get to a point where, it's already at a point where YouTube is favoring China, and it's been absolutely horrendous. I did that video about police brutality in China, and I showed some clips of police brutality in China, but I censored them.
Yeah.
Okay? I actually censored the clips. I did not let any of them not be censored. And my video was taken down for breaking YouTube's...
wait, what if I go on CNN or Fox or one of these other YouTube channels?
Never mind that. Just on YouTube, you can see brutal videos of American police, like choking people to death, shooting people. You've actually got police shootings on YouTube, you can see American police brutality. It's totally okay. It's okay to get down on America and to, insult America or whatever, or do whatever you want against America, as American sucks, or whatever. But the fact that I had actual footage of police brutality in China, and not even as bad as the stuff that they show with American police.
No, that's inappropriate.
Yeah, it was inappropriate. My video got taken down. I had to cut a lot of it out, re-upload it, censor it, and it still got demonetized. You know what I mean? So we're at that point where everyone's so afraid of pissing off China that they're willing to rewrite history and to screw up the actual facts of what happened in the world. It's really annoying.
In ways, it's winning.
Yeah.
In public discourse, I think a lot of people are waking up to the CCP. But
I hope so.
I really do. But at the same time, how are you going to dictate what a corporation does? Because guess what? Blizzard already fucked up the first time.
Yes.
They got international backlash at the wazoo, right? Really messed them up. And Activision Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
They did the same thing.
They just did it again. Guess what, guys? When I used to work at Tencent, I would see when they'd bring bigwigs in from, other bigger companies. I was there. They brought one of the designers for Metal Gear Solid 4 in and stuff. Tencent, for those of you who don't know, the guys who made WeChat, they are the biggest gaming platform in China. They license all the games, like World of Warcraft and stuff. And then it gets, censored and changed. They changed the games to the local Chinese market. They remove things like homosexuality, and they remove skeletons. They remove a whole bunch of things which are inappropriate or that go against the censorship rules in China, and then release it. But Tencent actually has a 5% stake in Activision Blizzard. Yeah. So, they now partly own it as well. So that also makes sense. So I think it's important for us to call this out when we see it. It's tragic that within the walls of China you have to deal with censorship. It's horrible. And I grew up in South Africa, and let me tell you something, that when I was young in South Africa, censorship was rife. You may not think this, but like movies that had sex in it or anything like that, because the South African government back then, when I was very young, super Christian, super Puritan, they would censor that, and also anything that had Lethal Weapon 2 or whatever, that's like anti-South African stuff that wasn't allowed to be shown and stuff. So I lived in a country where censorship was a thing. And it's not fun. It's not cool to be in a place where you're not allowed to choose what you watch. So in China, you're absolutely not allowed to choose what you watch. You can only watch what the state allows you to watch. You can only access the websites the state allows you so kindly to, access. And you're only allowed to have the ideas that the state allows you to have. But that's bad enough in China, but the fact that that's now spreading to the rest of the world is disgusting.
That's my point. It's like a double-pronged thing. You have the situation now where we have to consume media that's already pre-censored for the Chinese market, right?
Yeah.
Not only that, how damaging is it to the people in China that actually tried to fight against this authoritarian government? What this American company just did was remove a piece of history that shows and sheds some light on some innocent people that really stood up for justice, and they lost their lives with their own blood. And you listen to the CCP, like one of the least free countries in the world, and remove that from people's psyches. How evil is that? That hurts Chinese people.
Absolutely.
Right? That does. How are countries going to come together if we allow this country to close off even more and more and more and more, tighten their narrative more for their domestic audience, and then also not let people from other countries understand what happened? How are people going to come together?
It's just awful, and especially to the survivors of the Tiananmen Square massacre that escaped to other countries, to see this happening must be heartbreaking. Welcome to the Royal Rumble.
Who do you want to see get their ass whooped the most?
I must say, I'm very biased against the Shilza. I hope they all get a beat down.
We have no idea what's going to happen in this match.
Cannot wait.
Are you ready to rumble?
Sarah AI.
Take a look at that. She's showing off. Is Tractor gonna throw Chinese Ox out? It's Cool Gamer Nathan.
My
Subway
goodness.
Wonder Man. Subway Wonder Man.
Oh, is he out? Flying through the air like a missile and slammed into the mat. Neo Dentech.
Oh, Chinese Ox out of the ring.
Oh, and it's Clapman. This roster.
Oh, Sina's out. Wait, I'm kicking your ass now? What's going on? Look, everybody wants Raging Roger out of there.
Raging Roger is out.
Oh, well.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he's going for strike, brother.
Wow.
Oh, that was close. I cannot believe it.
Oh, my goodness.
That is, that's insane.